Yo, what's up everybody? If you're wondering if melee can still work with the Groundbreaker fix, well, it can, and I'm going to show you how with this build. This build synergizes around Groundbreaker with tons of bonus damage in order to build up damage fast, produce massive single hits, crazy dot damage, and with that, let's get started. Alright, I'm going to start here with Specializations because this is where the bulk of our big damage comes from. Even though Groundbreaker has been fixed so it no longer stacks recursively, it still provides this build with a good top-end damage multiplier. And what we're doing here is, because we're dealing so much bonus damage through our skills such as Midnight Oil, Altered Cabron, and Inferno Protocol, we're then going to build up these stored damage through those extra dots, through the extra bonus damage that's happening, and those are going to go into Groundbreaker's stored damage, and each hit will build up momentum and build more and more. So if you're running through drill sites and mobbing, this build works amazing. After the first couple of hits, you're one-shotting everything. Then with things like a single target boss, it takes 5 or 6 hits. You start taking out big chunks of their health to the point where eventually you're taking out entire health bars at a time. Next, we're going to go into Bear Arms. This is just the melee damage benefits from gun damage increases. We're going to use Nail with Caffeine because what you'll see here in our inventory, we're going to use the triple bypass in order to have 3 charges. So every time you run out of our arc knives, you'll be able to hit your 3 charges, get your action skill back immediately. And then I Am a Gun, action skill damage now benefits from increases to gun damage. This all just goes into creating the most damage we can with our arc knives in order to do the most damage possible with Groundbreaker, and then now with Caffeine is in order to regen our arc knives quicker after it expires. Alright, starting out with our green tree, we're going full green tree on this. The biggest things to pay attention to are the bonus damage multipliers. So the first one is Midnight Oil, gives us bonus corrosive damage. This is going to be up to 50%. Altered Cabron is also going to give us bonus damage when we are healing ourselves, which we're going to do with Saladair. And then every time we heal ourselves, we get a stack. That's going to do 100% bonus corrosive damage. And then finally, Inferno Protocol. When Arc Knives is active, we're going to be taking damage. That damage is then going to be stored. And then 50% of that damage is then taken from ourselves to the enemies in the form of bonus incendiary damage. All of this damage that we're doing, this bonus damage through these 3 skills, is helping to build our Groundbreaker damage. And another big skill that we have is Cruel Accrual. This gives us an additional 200% skill damage with our arc knives out. And then we have El Diablito. This one gives us a portion of incendiary damage, also deals bonus damage in bonus incendiary ordnance damage. That combined with Inferno Protocol doing bonus incendiary damage is then doing bonus ordnance damage, which is then stacking into Synergia, which whenever we deal ordnance damage, we gain increased gun melee damage, and that's 120%. So all of this is synergizing together. The last things we're looking at in the skill tree are additive damage, and we're getting that through Diamond Hands. So over time, dealing melee damage gives us increased gun damage. That's 200% gun damage, but that translates to 100% melee damage after we use our specializations. We're going to increase our corrosive damage output with El Baracho. We're also going to get extra crit damage whenever we deal melee with Dialed In. And then we're going to go with Saladair, which is restoring health. Because we're damaging ourselves, we want to restore our health, but also because we want to be able to proc Altered Cabron stacks as much as possible. So that's why we're taking these 2 skills right here. Then we're going to just increase our action skill duration by 35%. And the last one is Collaborative Ignition. We're using this mainly just to get down to here, because this one isn't working at the moment. It'll work with your ordnance, but it doesn't work with arc knives, so I don't know if that's a glitch or if it's something that they messed up in the latest patch, but there's something I noticed in testing that I had out cryo and radiation weapons. I wasn't getting cryo or radiation damage done to any enemies, but if I were to throw a throwing knife with overdrive active, this would work and get us the bonus damage. For a gear, I'm using the Lucian's Flank. Just use any weapon that if you go down, you're able to get yourself back up. Keep in mind that you will have your stacks of diamond hands, so you'll have 200% gun damage if you go down while arc knives is out, and then that'll help you get back up. And then you can use your rep kit, which I'm using the triple bypass. Use the rep kit with caffeine. That's going to get us our action skill back even quicker. For our enhancement, I'm just using an enhancement that has gun damage. Really the only thing that matters here is that 25% gun damage, 50% of that, so 12.5 is going to be able to go into our melee damage. For my ordnance, I'm using a knife, and the reason for this is because if you use certain other class mods, they might have booming business in them, and booming business will drop a free grenade. If that happens and you don't have something like a knife out, you'll end up killing yourself on accident, which happened to me a lot during testing of this. Finally, I'm using All Out Buster. The reason I want All Out Buster is for that middle blue skill, and I'll show you that one here on the skill tree. What that's giving us is per my last, it's giving me 4 points, so I now have a 24% chance whenever I deal damage with an action skill to an enemy, I gain a chance to deal that damage again. That's the one you want to stack the most of. 5 would be ideal for this. That would put you at 32%. The reason this is important is because when you're bossing, if you have a chance to deal double damage, you're essentially getting the chance to deal more damage with Groundbreaker. That's going to build up stacks way faster than if you're not dealing double damage. So this is just mainly for bossing. That's why we want this skill. Lastly, for my gear, I'm using the Watts for Dinner. The reason I'm using this is for the getting overshield, gives us a bonus 25% shock damage. This goes into Groundbreaker stacks, so we'll be able to do more damage this way. I also have the Siphon on here in order to get 10% chance when dealing damage to gain overshield. So we're getting bonus damage, getting a little bit more survivability, but that's all dependent on the overshield. Now, if you're having trouble staying alive with the Watts for Dinner, try something like the Onion. The Onion's probably the next best. So when armor segment breaks, you get immunity to damage for 2 seconds, and then you get, on this one in particular, I have heavy plating, so I get bonus reduction, damage reduction with broken armor plates. This one's the best for survivability. This shield won't do the most damage, but it'll give you the best chance of staying alive long enough for it for you to be able to do big damage. Now with Groundbreaker and with the bonus damage that we're doing from all of our skills, you don't necessarily need to have the Watts for Dinner in order to do those big damage numbers. It just ramps up the damage faster using the Watts for Dinner than with, say, the Onion, and it takes out bosses quicker this way. So those are the 2 shields I like to use. You can also use something like the Heavyweight. This one on melee hit consumes armor for 100% melee damage, and then armor shield is empty, grants 50% melee damage. This one also does great damage, but now you're reliant on no overshield, no armor shield because you've used it all on hits. You're solely reliant on your skill Saladar to keep your health going, and then with the Inferno Protocol, you're constantly damaging yourself. So if you don't get the lucky crits that you need and get the health restored, then you're kind of SOL on this one. So I like to use the Watts for Dinner for the overshield and the extra damage, but also the Onion for just straight damage resistance and survivability. And the last piece we'll talk about are our firmware choices. So I'm going with 2 Action Fists, give us melee and skill damage. Going with 2 Real Big Fists for more melee damage, and then an additional melee damage. And then 1 into God Killer, which is damage to badass enemies is increased by 10%. This also does increase damage to bosses. And that's a build. If melee isn't your thing, then try out this Rafa explosive video that I have here on screen. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more Borderlands 4 content. See ya!